Hey, welcome to the My Inner Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Laura Ferry. I'm really happy that you're here with me this week, especially because we are celebrating the 50th episode of the My Inner Struggle podcast, and I'm really excited. I am going to be talking all about my evolution, where it began, how it started, and I'm going to share with you some pivotal moments of growth over the last few years and some of my book, Is It an Open Bar?, available at myinnerstruggle.com. So grab a cup of coffee and come get uncomfortable with me. So let's get started. I'm really happy that you're here. And I know that I say that every single week, and I am happy that you're here. I'm happy that you can resonate with what I share, and that you show up for me. And it's a level of support that I don't think I've ever had before in my life. And this is episode 50, and this is probably going to be some of the most real and raw things that I may have ever shared, which seems kind of crazy to say, but as I've becoming more and more comfortable talking about my journey, and in the last few weeks since my book has launched, I've never felt more supported in my life. That night of the book launch, I had between 50 and 60 women show up to support me, and if there's anything that I could have done different about that night, it's pictures, because I took as many as I could, and I know that some friends were taking some pictures, but if I had a picture of the room in my vantage point of everyone looking at me and their faces and response as I was speaking and reading from the book, that just would have made my world. I keep closing my eyes and I can envision it, and I hope that I never lose that moment in memory, because it was really special. I started a blog 9 years ago. I had just had my youngest daughter. She was about between 4 and 6 months old when the wheels started turning. And my mother had just passed away, and I was losing a job that I had loved and really, really put my best self forward to achieve. And it was devastating. And after the loss of my mother, which is sad in itself, but the growth that has come from that and the relationship and how kind of toxic it was, but she was still my mother and I loved her very much, was sort of devastating. I just kind of felt like I was spinning around and I didn't know where I was going to land. There was so much change all at once, and I just started to write. And it was just kind of a way to document my own growth and journey. And it really started off as like, I need to reboot my life and get healthy and do all the things to get there. And I just felt really super supported. I started the Facebook page and the Instagram page, and, friends were like, I'm so glad that you're doing this. This is awesome. And it was really, really well received and awesome. And I had so many views, those first few years, especially. And it was really exciting. And I'm like, who am I? Because it was, you think about it, it's a majority of like strangers that are following you. I don't know these people. But the support that you feel from these people, because your motivation and desire to do better inspires them as well. And so that just really fueled my growth too, to want to do better and learn more and share more and all of those things. So that was really how the blog began. And it was this beautiful way of sharing those moments and experiences. But I want it to be more than just like a mom blog, if you call it that. And so that's where the personal growth came into fruition. And I didn't really seek out. If you had asked me 9 years ago if I'd be here now, I wouldn't have believed you, really. So much has changed, and I've endured so much, as we all do all the time, but I didn't think I'd be exactly here. I knew I wanted something more, but I didn't know what the more was exactly. I knew that I loved writing and I wanted to be able to share that and do that as a way to support my family, but I didn't know how it was going to end up. And after I had been doing the blog for a few years, I committed to myself. And I remember this very vividly speaking with my now ex-boyfriend at the time and saying, this is what I'm going to write. And he thought it was so cool. And I remember sharing with him, this is the title. Is it an open bar? And he's like, that's very like interesting and intriguing. And every time I would mention that to people, and I didn't talk about it for a really long time because it wasn't really on the front burner. I had sort of put it behind me a little bit, just kind of living and gaining those experiences. But I would work on it from here and there, and then once I started making changes in my life, but when I went to sit down and work on my book, it was like this immense amount of data that I had put together, but I had to place it and put it together to make sense and flow as a story would. And that was probably the most difficult part of doing the book out of everything for me anyway. I love writing, but every time somebody asks me now, like, I think I want to write a book, like, how would I even start that? And I always say, like, start at the beginning. It's way easier because mine, as I was blogging through these experiences, was like random thoughts that I'd email to myself or something, or put on this giant, like data sheet basically of all these random thoughts and experiences, and how I would be doing something now and then have a memory and kind of revert back to childhood and think about those things and how certain experiences shaped us and brought us forward, but then wasn't really in the present. So that was like the toughest part, I would say, about writing the book. But I get so emotional about it because it is really like everything. And now, as I'm sharing it with people, and I had coffee with someone yesterday, a new friend, and it was just absolutely cool to be able to talk to these people about these things. I didn't have these people in my life before that I felt either comfortable enough to share my story or that they understood and were of the same mindset. And I think that's really the biggest thing, because when you're meeting people and you sort of have to, I wasn't really being myself, and we use a lot of things to shield ourselves or to protect ourselves from, being, to be accepted and things like that. So whether it's, bad habits or just living on the surface, like it's easy to make small talk with people. Actually, that is one of the hardest things for me to do because I want to dive in. I want to talk about your weird dream. I want to talk about how, that bullshit made you feel, or how you worked through that, or what you were crying over, the other day. Like, I want to talk about the deep stuff. And I can remember all along the way, it was like meeting people and even family members going, you don't have to be that way, or you're too much, or you're too, all of these things. My boss at my last job would say, like, you're so general, you don't have like a specialty. And I truly believe in myself. And even as becoming a coach too, they're telling you to niche down. You have to define your niche. Well, like, I am my niche, and I am multifaceted, and I like different things. I like trying new things. I like, cooking and decorating and like all of these different things. So like, how am I supposed to be like less of myself? And finally, I just kind of, when everything started changing about a year ago, I just said, fuck it. I'm just going to be myself. Why am I trying to fit into these little containers that people are telling me that I need to fit into? The most success that I've had is me just being myself. And I encourage you to do the same. A lot of people come to me to be coached because they're like, I don't know who the fuck I am. I don't know what happened. And that was my evolution as well. So looking back at the last 50 episodes, like, holy shit, I can't even, it's kind of weird because it almost feels like more than that in a way, because the commitment to doing something like this is big, because you're not just committing to like coming on here and chatting or whatever. There's preparation, and then there's marketing, and there's all of these things that go into it. And anything that you take on that serves or is a commitment is another layer of things. Like, so I came on here to talk about this, and this is probably the easiest topic because this is what I talk about all the time, like my evolution, and that's what I write about, and all of that. But there's so much that goes into, the flow and the point, and doing things on time and things like that. Your call to action, what's happening now, looking back, and how organizing that. And I'm like, this is just me. We're here to have a conversation, and that's what we're doing. So the podcast really came as a way to bring different spice to the mix. I mean, I love writing. Not everybody reads a blog. Videos are huge. People are looking at videos all day long, whether it's they see something on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And it just seemed like a good way to deliver that message and really get a feel for who I am, because it's really hard to read that just on a page. And so the response to that has been huge. And I said it, I dropped off my book last week at a local bookstore to be sold, and it's on the shelves. And I cried my whole way back because I couldn't believe it, because I've been talking and thinking about being a writer, publishing a book since I was like 9 years old. And it's kind of crazy that kind of crazy. Like I can't even come up with the right words to say that it's so fucking cool that I did it. And it doesn't matter if I sell one or if I sell 1,000, because I did it. I did it. So I encourage you to do the thing. That might be a hint to something. So I wrote the book, Is It an Open Bar? It's available at myinnerstruggle.com. And it is truly the entire evolution. After, it's hard when you're writing something, and even on a blog, I'll post it and then I'll go, oh, I wish I had included that, or I wish I said it this way. And at some point you just have to kind of cut it and say, okay, we have to be done, and we can always post again later or add later, or maybe write a next book. And that could be happening now. So I want to share with you the intro to my book because it's intriguing. I know the title is intriguing to a lot of people, and it really is something that is really near and dear to my heart. I can't even explain it, but when you read the book, you'll understand the title, and that is, of course, to interest you in something different and give you a different perspective. When we are talking about our personal growth and our journey, the more questions that you ask yourself, the deeper you can dig to get to your why. And that is crucially important in personal growth. And so I am going to present to you the intro to Is It an Open Bar? I read this at my book launch, and I did get through without crying, so hopefully we'll do that again. But I'm going to read you the dedication and the intro, and hopefully this will intrigue you enough to want to run on myinnerstruggle.com and purchase your own copy. If you are interested in a signed copy, click on the podcast and more, and there's a form there that you can fill out, for coaching, for just questions, or if you want to chat, about anything, or if you have a suggestion for a podcast or anything like that, or if you'd like a signed copy of the book, you can fill out that form. That's on myinnerstruggle.com. And here we go. To my children, Emily, Matthew, and Evelyn, whose dreams, resilience, and unwavering belief in me continue to make all things possible, this book is for you. My forever source of inspiration and love. I love you more. Also, to the 8-year-old version of Laura, I love you. One of my favorite quotes by Ernest Hemingway. All you have to do is write one true sentence. Write the truest sentence that you know. The biggest lie I tell myself, I'm not worthy of love. What's yours? Hey there, I'm Laura. I'm here to talk about all the things no one wants to talk about because it's too uncomfortable. We write from a place of pain or the joyous perspective after. Our story is what gets us to where we are. Every person we encounter, everything that happened to us, good, bad, or indifferent, the people who surround us with love and hate, every experience brings us to now. I wrote this book over the last 6 years of emotion, observation, and growth. I wrote it through navigating life change, working through divorce, parenting, love, and heartbreak. I wrote through financial ruin and the rebuild. We all have our stories to tell. Each chapter is shaped by unique struggles, triumphs, moments that define who we are. Yours might not look exactly like mine, but I believe there's something universal in all of us, the messy, raw parts that we often keep hidden. This book isn't just my story. It's a reflection of the chaos, the growth, and the deep, sometimes uncomfortable process of learning to love myself. We need to make the connections of our past and start processing to heal and forgive what happened so we can move forward in a healthy way. Our feelings serve a purpose. We need to feel things so we can process them. So what you are about to read was some of what you are about to read was hard to write. Some of it might even be hard to read, but all of it was written from a place of self-love, imperfect, real, and sometimes gritty self-love. You see, self-love isn't always soft or easy. Sometimes it's about facing the hardest truths and being brave enough to walk through them. Sometimes it's about getting uncomfortable with your own bullshit and realizing that the only way to heal is to stop hiding from the mess. You might have picked up this book thinking it's just the story of someone with an alcohol addiction. But really, it's about everything. It's about getting super uncomfortable with myself and learning to become the person I was always meant to be. Letting go of using alcohol as a coping mechanism to overcome my lack of confidence. From being a mom to dating to gardening, organizing, cooking, finances, sex, balance, blowjobs, getting healthy, work, decorating, and yes, even divorce. Everything is tied together with a little humor and a lot of realness. When I started writing this book, I had no idea how much life would unfold as I dug into these stories. What I've come to realize is that this is not a polished version of a perfect life. This is the raw, unfiltered journey that led me here, and it might just resonate with something you've been through too. So if you're ready to face the discomfort that comes with real growth, laughing through chaos, crying through the pain, and find the power in imperfect moments, let's walk through this together. Things were a mess. I didn't know who I was anymore, and in the quiet of the night, I found myself asking, is this it? Is this the life I've built? The feeling of unworthiness leads us to seek out coping mechanisms to dull the pain and feel normal. It was the perfect storm of events that sent me spiraling. The birth of my third baby, the loss of the job I loved, and then the unexpected death of my mom. I didn't know where to start picking up the pieces, but somewhere in all that mess, I had a realization. I needed to rebuild. It wasn't just about fixing what was broken. It was about building something new, something that was mine. So I started, slowly, one step at a time, laying down the bricks of a new foundation. And it wasn't easy. In fact, it was a struggle every single day. I wasn't just rebuilding my life, I was rebuilding myself. At first, I didn't know where to begin. It felt overwhelming, like standing at the base of a mountain you've got no idea how to climb. But I knew this, I couldn't go back. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't. The old me was no longer serving me. The person I was before I had to be let go so I could make room for the new person I was meant to become. But how do you even start? How do you begin to build something new with the foundation you've been standing on has been crumbled? I didn't have the answers, but I had the willingness to try. It was a journey of discovery, of embracing discomfort and leaning into the unknown. And while it wasn't always pretty, it was real. It was messy. It was me. And through all of this, I had no idea what would come next, but every day I got closer to finding out. Every day I chipped away at the parts of me that weren't working and started laying down parts that felt more aligned with who I wanted to be. Now I'm sitting here writing this to you, feeling more myself than I ever have. But I didn't get here without going through some serious soul searching, some dark nights, and plenty of moments when I doubted if I could really do it. That's why I'm sharing my story with you. Not because I have all the answers, none of us do, but because I've been there and I know what it feels like to be lost, to be stuck, to wonder if you'll ever figure it out. And I'm here to tell you that you can. Because as I'm learning, life doesn't come with a roadmap. We create the path as we go. The mistakes, the failures, the heartbreak, they're all part of the process. They don't define us, they shape us. And it's when we stop running from those messy parts of ourselves that we start to truly live. And it ripples into all the other areas and relationships in our life. They say you have 3 great loves in your life. The first love, the one that breaks your heart, unbecoming. The second love, the one that helps you heal through lessons learned. And the third love, the one that lasts forever. Sometimes I feel like I took the long way home, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to take the slow, winding drive in order to get where we're going. Welcome to my love story. I share in that book some of my darkest moments. And when I met a friend for coffee yesterday, she's kind of a new friend, and I'm becoming more and more comfortable sharing my story, less emotional. But in those darkest times where you're at a loss, and adult friendships are one of the toughest things to navigate, I think. And in the last podcast, I had mentioned the book The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And she touched on a lot of that. And that really, really spoke to me. But some of those darkest times in the last few years when I was navigating change and leaving my full-time job and starting my own, and really full force starting my own business, I lost so many people that I had worked with, so many people that I thought were friends. And it was really hard that, your text messages and calls go unanswered. But I have to say that darkest time when you are wondering, will anybody notice if I was gone tomorrow, is like a reboot. And when you're crying on the kitchen floor in a puddle of tears and wondering why you're here, what your purpose is, and why did I have to lose everybody, and why does it hurt so much before you can move forward? It was really fucking hard. And not all of us have, the whole point of everything and the point of the self-love club is so that I can help and be there for other people who felt as alone as I did, navigating through this without a partner or a best friend or a sibling to even hold your hand. I know now that I had to be left completely to myself in order to move forward. But that sucked. And now when I look back at it and people have read the book and consumed it in a few days, and they're saying, like, I've never resonated that with something like that so much. And they couldn't put it down because they felt it in their heart. They cried, they laughed right along with me. It makes me feel so good that they weren't alone, because that is the biggest thing. I invite you to share your own personal growth stories too. Go on the website, myinnerstruggle.com, and click on the podcast and more. Shoot me a message. Tell me about it. I'm here for you. I'm here to help you as a coach, as a friend, as a mentor, anything that I can do. Join the Self-Love Club and connect with other women that are kind of navigating the same journey and want to do better and need community in order to do that. Thank you so much for listening to episode 50 of the My Inner Struggle podcast. This means so much to me. I am so grateful that I'm here with you. I'm so grateful that I get to do what I love. And when you're ready, check out the blog on myinnerstruggle.com. Get your copy of Is It an Open Bar? And as always, I am thinking of you and sending you love, and I will see you soon.